UFC just announced that they are going to be on ABC network television. It starts 3 o'clock. I'm out here on the West Coast, so it'll be a noon show for us. Main event is going to be Max Holloway and Kattar. Now, we knew that fight was happening. We knew about this date. We didn't have the ABC information. But guys, let me ask you a question. Is there possibly a better fight that you could bring on your first day of network television? I mean, this is like the most evenly matched fight ever on paper. They both stand 5'11", which is extremely rare for 145 pounds. They have extremely similar styles. They will hurt you and put you down. They will do it with their hands heavily. They will go to the head and they will go to the body. And they are going to wear you down and chop you like a tree. It's one of those things where you're not going to have, in any likely scenario, a 1-minute fight. Now, you guys remember when Kane versus JDS, it was supposed to be this knockdown slugger knocker, and it was like 61 seconds, and it was the only fight on the debut on fight. The whole show lasts 61 seconds. Everybody's going, oh my goodness, what just happened? That's not what you have here. You are going to have a brawl. And by the way, even if you look at their records and their accomplishments, I want to say they're separated by like 2 years. They have very similar looking records. I understand accomplishment goes to Max, record-wise and experience. Finishes, submissions, knockouts, rounds, minutes in MMA, minutes in combat, not octagon specifically. Very similar. It's like a wash. So you have this really great fight. You have a myth around fights that people need to see a finish. You have a myth. You need to have guys that are trying to get the finish. The greatest fights that we've ever had did not end in a finish. The one fight that is recognized as the single greatest fight that changed the entire industry, Bonner versus Griffin, was anything but a finish, just by example. There is a myth around the idea that you need to stop fights or that is what people want. You do accurately need two guys trying to finish the fight, not eating up the clock, not thinking about rounds, trying to win this exchange into this exchange into this exchange, which constitutes a round, which constitutes 3 or 5 rounds, which constitutes the battle. I only bring that to you because this is a fight that you're pretty assured, at least by the numbers, you're going to get a long drawn-out war. Kattar's got knockout power, Max has knockout power. They don't knock guys out in the very first round. They wear them down. I'm just offering for you. Don't forget the objective here. Could you guys, the hardcore, and myself think of a bigger fight? Sure we could. We could think of more name power or something along those lines. That isn't the objective here. The objective by all parties involved is to bring a fantastic action-filled product to new viewers. I will put so much praise, I will put so much pressure on these two guys. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this statement? Goodbye, Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin. I believe that. I believe that fight gets moved to number 2 when these guys are done. I believe there is no possible. Max doesn't know how to be boring. Max only knows to go forward. Kattar doesn't know how to be scared. Kattar can take a shot, and he's willing to take 2 shots to give you 1. They just don't know how. Hey guys, go lay an egg. You're on network TV. Hey, go lay an egg. We'll give you a bonus if you lay. They don't know how. They wouldn't be able to take that deal. I don't know how. They throw punches in such record high volume. You know, Brian Ortega, who's about as rough of a guy as you're ever going to come across, ever. Brian Ortega said openly, I couldn't fight anymore with Max. There was too many shots coming at me. I did not know whether to protect my head or my body. I couldn't hold my arms up anymore. There was just too much output. That's from one of the roughest guys you're ever going to meet. I'm just talking, you want to talk about excitement? I would challenge you right now to tell me a fight that you think is going to bring in more attention, and you have to compare it to the King. You have to compare it to Bonner Griffin. Now, they were on a little network, Spike TV, and they still changed the industry. That fight goes into the Hall of Fame as well as those athletes, and it's still beloved to this day. I'm telling you, my own prediction. Big praise by me. I'm aware. I'm going to make this prediction now. It gets moved to number 2. This is the fight to bring new eyeballs, to bring new attention, to have excitement around. And I just don't believe you're going to get double-crossed anywhere. I don't think you're going to see the rolling heel hook, Ryan Hall style over BJ Penn. Oh my gosh, we're all done here. That was amazing, but we're all done here. Kane versus JDS. Great example because we saw that. Great example was it backfired. It backfires 61 seconds. You got a whole show. You got a whole people are throwing parties. I was one of those guys. You're bringing the pizza and this guy's bringing the root beer. I mean, you're having 61 seconds. Everybody's got to get their coat and head for the door. I mean, it was one of those things where it was just an unforeseen. It happened. This is going to bring you a whole card with this on top. Thinking about that weight class, by the way, the champ made a statement, Volkanovski. Volkanovski said he believes that Henry Cejudo will come back for a money fight. I tend to agree with Volkanovski. I don't think he revealed anything to us. Henry himself told us the night he retired, I have a number. So it appeared that it was about money, but then he walked away completely. I mean, would you rather have X amount of money or no money, right? Henry chose no money. So there was something there that was very sincere, but I hear what Volkanovski's saying, but you're still stuck with a problem. Is there a money fight? That division has never had a money fight. It's had big fights for that division. It's had the biggest fight for that division. It's had the largest live gate for that division. You have to add for that division or the statement no longer becomes true. There has never been a mega fight. You have Triple C, who's as good of a combat athlete as you're going to see, versus Demetrius Johnson, who is the best combat athlete that you've ever seen. Saw that twice. Second one did good for that division. I only bring that to you because to make believe that you could put a bigger fight. Who's Henry going to fight that's the big money fight? Henry's last fight against Dominic Cruz, which, by the way, fell on 246, which is relevant because that was the first sporting event of the pandemic. Sports were put on hold. This was the first one. It did numbers that you're just not going to match for reasons that you can't duplicate. For reasons, was it a good card? Yes, absolutely. Would have that card done? I mean, you guys understand, right? It's one of these things. Henry's not going to return to a fight bigger than the last fight that he had. So there's going to have to be some concessions here. Do you want to compete or don't you? But I think when Volkanovski makes his statement, I can't help but assume he's trying to insert himself and think that he's the money fight. That's not a big, that's not. That would be a big fight for that division. And that isn't Henry's fault, by the way. Henry is doing his part. Nobody else is. I mean, for the longest time, Henry didn't get it. Now Henry starts to get it. And now Henry finds out he can't get a dance partner to uphold their end of it. It's one of these things. It's one of these things. Could see a big fight for that division. But I'm asking you guys, is there a money fight? And if so, where? Does Henry have to come back at 145 because you have the built-in storyline of champ, champ, champ? First to have ever done it. Because you have a built-in storyline that Volkanovski could definitely beat him. Henry could beat Volkanovski. Volkanovski can beat Henry. It's one of those. So you're going to want to see that match. Or is Henry better off to come in against Peter Yan, somebody within that division, try to reclaim what he had never lost? I mean, right, if you're talking about a big fight, you're not talking about a great fight. That's a myth. That's a myth held within a fighter's mind. That's why the fighter can never make any money. They don't understand their own damn industry. A big fight is a great story. So which story is better? Henry to come back for a first ever unprecedented champ, come against the biggest and baddest guy he's ever fought after taking a year off from a sport that he said he was done with, or Henry returning to a division to reclaim what he never lost. Alex isn't going to do his part. He didn't know how to. Jan's not going to do his part. He didn't know how to. He wants to. And Jan at least wants to. He just doesn't know how. Alex doesn't want to and doesn't know how. So it's going to be up to us. What is a better story to you? What is more captivating or what is more compelling? So you can have a big fight for that division.